Hello, welcome to the Best Practices video for Grade 2 Time. This is an example of an activity called Two Truths and One Lie. Can you spot the lie? Here are the instructional outcomes of the unit. Throughout the unit, we should observe students differentiating between AM and PM and the activities that we do during those periods of time, using digital and analog clocks to tell and write time to the nearest 5 minutes, expressing portions of an hour using the terms half an hour, half past, quarter of an hour, quarter after, and quarter till. And we should also see students making connections to partitioning of circles into the number line to help read and write time. In the classroom, we should see students engaged in tasks such as placing daily activities on a timeline. The timeline in the video snippets uses two colors to differentiate between before midday and after midday. As student pairs work together to place the activities along the timeline and talk about whether the activity occurs in the AM or PM, they will engage in discussions that reflect on the mathematical thinking of self and others, which is MTR 4. MTR 4 and 5 will be evident as students use the geared analog clocks to observe and talk about the movement of the hour hand over the course of an hour and use those generalizations to draw the hour hand on an analog clock and record the hour an activity might occur using AM and PM correctly. You should also observe students drawing both hands on analog clocks, recording the corresponding time on a digital clock, and recording times in more than one way. MTR 5 use patterns and structure to help understand and connect mathematical concepts will be important as connections are made between explorations with fractions and the fractional language used to tell time to the nearest 5 minutes. The classroom should be abuzz with discussions about time of day, how the hands move around an analog clock, and the correct fractional terms to use when stating time to the nearest 5 minutes. Displayed here are some examples of questions you might hear or pose to students as you walk through a classroom engaged in this unit of study. These exchanges will facilitate discussion and connections as teachers employ MTRs 4 and 5. On this slide is a sample of words used by teachers and students in a classroom where students communicate mathematical ideas, vocabulary, and methods about time effectively. This is not an exhaustive list. Students might make lists of activities that occur in the AM and PM to demonstrate their understanding of what time of day those terms indicate. Students who have met learning outcomes should be able to draw hands on an analog clock and write the time on a digital clock. They should be able to explain and state the time displayed on an analog clock to the nearest 5 minutes and how they know what time it is. Also, look for students to be able to express times in more than one way. For example, 4:45 can also be stated as quarter to 5. Here are some examples of exit tickets and a fluency builder game from this unit. This unit is rich in opportunities for teachers to engage students in MTRs 4 and 5. Questions that teachers, administrators, or parents can ask to gauge student understanding are listed here. These questions were pulled from smathsmarts.com. Each benchmark has a separate page on that website where more questions can be found. As we encourage continued learning and practice at home, the STEMscopes parent letter has a tic-tac-toe board with tasks to do at home. One example is, periodically show your child a picture of the face of an analog clock. Ask your child to tell the time and write it on a digital clock. Another example is one that will help students make the connection between number lines and timelines. Draw a number line. Work with your student to label the numbers from 0 to 60 by counting by fives. Make tick marks between the numbers, counting by fives to show the ones. Then, give your child a time to show on the number line to the nearest 5 minutes. This has been the Best Practices video for Grade 2 Time. See you later!